I had already watched what we're going to talk about today, which is the 100 Years of Warner Brothers. I'd already watched it. There were maybe only 2 episodes that I kind of didn't dive deep enough into. So I wanted to rewatch it to make sure I had plenty of notes.
Spears and Steinberg.
You know what the it is?
Aries and Andy. Chew and the Jerk.
You know it's time to get this work.
The real raw, gutter, uncut, cold. No political corrections.
Always sleep.
Being awoke. We discuss politics and jokes.
Scribe, we lit.
There's levels to this. Before you was on your mama.
Aries Spears don't give a fuck.
We talk about race a lot, racism. Much love to my loyal bag holders.
Rollers, loaders.
We got them in the folders.
The whole world on our shoulders.
Spears and Steinberg.
Yeah.
Welcome, folks. Before I dive into something that I want to rant about for a second, let me start off on this note. So, folks, for some reason, I don't know why, but I got this itch where I'm just loving about real dark documentaries about serial killers and evil people. For some reason, this is just intriguing me right now. So as I was scrolling through HBO Max, as I tend to do, looking for something to watch on my 4.5-hour flight from LA to Florida, or anytime I pretty much go from one side of the country to the other, I had already watched what we're going to talk about today, which is the 100 Years of Warner Brothers. I'd already watched it. There were maybe only 2 episodes that I kind of didn't dive deep enough into. So I wanted to rewatch it to make sure I had plenty of notes, but that's only 2 hours. So anyway, as I'm scrolling through HBO Max, I came across this thing called The Real Nightmares on Elm Street. It's on HBO Max. And I went, wow, Real Nightmares on Elm Street, which is obviously off the movie Nightmare on Elm Street. So I went to go see what this is about. And what this documentary is about, this 6 parts. Apparently, there are several streets within the United States named Elm Street. So they took 7 real-life stories where dark, heinous murders took place in certain parts of the country on Elm Street. And it was funny, Andy and I were just in Spokane, and one of the murders took place in Spokane, Washington. But the one, when you start out, I just want to mention this one and then I'll move on. The first episode is about a guy, I forget the guy's name, but basically the murder he commits, a husband comes home from work only to find his wife in bed, the pillow on the back of her head, soaked in blood. She had been shot twice in the head. He found an open condom wrapper, which means she was also raped. And then his 2 kids, one is 4, the other one was 11, both drowned in the bathtub. And he said when he saw his wife, he knew the kids were dead. He didn't even want to go see it. He was so up. So he called the police and waited outside. When the police got there, they informed him, yeah, your kids were drowned in the bathtub. This took place 30 minutes outside of Boston. This was in Massachusetts. Cut to, they went back 7 months prior. A widowed father, is that what you call a man that's lost his wife?
Yeah,
widowed. A widowed father and his 2 daughters. The mother's gone. And the teenage daughters are playing, what do you call that Ouija thing where you summon
the Ouija board.
The Ouija board. And they're asking questions like, Mom, are you this? Are you that? And they hear on the walls. Come to find out, the dude that murdered the woman and the kids, he's living in the walls. And when you look at the cover, I wish I would have brought my iPad. He was poking out the electrical sockets so he could stare at the family in the house at certain points. And when he would see them leave, he would get out of the walls and he would do like take a shit in the toilet and not flush it, move furniture around, turn on lights that were off. And the family was like, yo, what the Come to find out, he's been living there for 6 months. In the basement was a hole in the ceiling that a human being could fit through. He would go into the ceiling, make his way down to the floor, and he would slither his way throughout the whole house behind the walls. and he would make noises and shit like that. Dude, this dude is scary. He was 17 too, and he dated one of the father's daughters, but she broke up with him because of how creepy he was. So cut to, at some point, he comes out of the walls. He comes at the father with a knife. He zip ties them all, makes them get on their knees, holds them hostage. But the one daughter escaped out the window. People, you got to see this, man. This gave me the creeps.
I'll watch it for that one, but I got to say,
I guarantee you, if you watch that one, you won't stop.
But the thing is about that one is you said, all the things, the Ouija board, the knocking, that's like a ghost, and then they're moving the furniture around. But ghosts don't take and leave them in the door. that's the one where I go, okay, and someone's living in the house.
Well, you don't know, though.
No.
But you're going, what the
We have a ghost. How do you know? When we're not home, it takes a shit.
Just takes a shit in the toilet.
And doesn't flush because, it can take a shit, but it can't touch the handle to flush it.
Right.
It can only just drop a turd.
Yes. Yeah, man, I forget what this dude's name is, but yeah, he was a serial killer. And just like when we talked about...
I think he was called the Deuce.
Yeah, the Deuce.
The Deuce on Elm Street.
The Deuce on Elm Street. That's funny. But like the Cook brothers... they had that law where you couldn't, somebody couldn't do light. Well, you had to be eligible for parole.
Yeah, you can't do because that's cruel and unusual punishment.
Right. So because this dude was 17, I forget the way what the wording was, but they had some sort of a law where basically he'll be eligible for parole in 2033. I mean, he'll be 60 something, but I don't know, man. When you heinously murder children, how you get out is crazy. And what's up about the system, he can do it again. So it's your fault if he does.
Yeah, but what if he? Okay, I'm not condoning it. I'm just asking the question. And sometimes people think that I ask these questions because I think that this is how I think. It's not how I think. It's just that I want to ask the question because it's how other people think. What if you're that kid? You're 17 years old, and who knows what your background is and what made you?
They said he was molested by his counselor, social worker, his dad. He was physically abused. He was f***ed up.
Okay, so if they put you in a mental ward and try to get you and rehabilitate you, do you have the right if you've been mistreated, abused, and you're not within your right mental faculties?
That's the Menendez.
Yeah, that's what's happening right now.
Dude, I'm sorry. No.
Unless they could prove, unless there's some kind of way that they can say this guy was 100% crazy, and now he's 100% not crazy, and he has no way to
How do we know that? How do we know that?
You don't. So in that case, maybe it's a mental facility that you have to go to for the rest of your life. I'm not. Again,
We're one where you don't get to be in the streets.
You don't get to be in the streets. You
I'll
have to
take
stay in
that
the facility.
then. I'll take that
You
then.
can live a semi-normal life.
Yeah.
Minimum security kind of, where you're under surveillance, you can't get out, but, you get to move around and you have some kind of life. But for the people that are out there that you've wronged and they have to live knowing that you're back on that's a lot to ask of someone.
Man.
But again, if you are 100% different, if you can live a normal life, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't have an answer. I don't know how I truly feel inside. I just don't think that I feel more empathy for the people that went through it than the people that did it.
Right.
And so it's hard for me to answer that question.
So again, it's called The Real Nightmares on Elm Street. And I was going, damn, we were just in Spokane. Spokane got popping off like that. But this is all back in the 80s. And
I like how we learned how it is Spokane, not Spokane.
Spokane. Yeah, Spokane.
We got schooled by a bartender.
Sassy.
She was great.
Dude, this is the little bit of a rant I want to go on. So I don't know if you saw the footage of Mel Gibson walking through LAX.
No, I haven't seen it.
And they asked him about who he's going to vote for. And he went on to all over Kamala, called her stupid and this and that. And he goes, and at the end of it, he goes, well, based on what I'm saying, you know who I'm voting for. So I went to the comments and almost every other comment, him, we canceled him. Who gives a damn about him? He's irrelevant. We canceled him. And I wrote, you guys, this social media has given you guys such a false illusion of power. What do you think you canceled? He is a white man in America worth $425 million. You didn't cancel. And of course, what I got in terms of backlash, and this is, again, I love my people, but y'all love to play the race card sometimes when it ain't even about that. And I said in my comment what it was about. It's my disdain for people on social media thinking that they're kings and queens who have power that you don't have. And it was, man, why you capping for the white man? Is this your massa? He ain't gonna put you in no movies. Why you sticking up for this white man? And being white ain't got shit to do with it. I'm talking about the fact that, and when I say it, let me backtrack because I just said it, but let's be honest. A white man in America means something, or at least it used to. But certainly when you got 425 million, if you were a black man in America with that much money, you have an edge. But to be a white man in America worth $500 million, what the f*** do you think y'all canceled? And then furthermore, I love when people kept going, well, you see he ain't been in no movies. Hollywood don't f*** with him no more. Listen, this is a young man's game. Mel Gibson is I think he's in his 70s. All our favorite action heroes from Andy and my generation, Stallone, Schwarzenegger, they're 80.
They're doing the Untouchables if they're doing anything.
The Expendables.
Expendables, sorry.
Schwarzenegger's 80. Stallone is damn near 80. He's not I don't give a how successful, famous, and rich you were as a movie star. The older you get, your age phases you out.
Well, you don't have that same look anymore.
Exactly.
You don't have that same energy.
Exactly. That's why Stallone is doing TV. Tulsa King. Arnold Schwarzenegger. We know he's not a theatrically trained Juilliard actor. He's never going to go to be or not to be. Haku goes there.
He might do it exactly that way.
That's exactly. And that's going to be laughable. He's come on, get to the chopper, fantastic. That's who he is. Bruce Willis literally has dementia. This is this game, the newer generation of moviegoers, they got The Rock now. They got Jason Statham. Those guys have replaced our heroes. So when you say Hollywood ain't hiring Mel, it's only because he's not Mel Gibson anymore, the guy from Lethal Weapon. He's not. And then I love it when people sit there and go on him and be judgmental. And I go, as far as Mel Gibson's cinematography legacy, it's intact. The Lethal Weapon movies alone, it's intact. Then when you throw in the fact that he's a hell of an actor, Braveheart, an Oscar-nominated movie. What does your resume look like? This man has $425 million. He's a legend. The Braveheart series, the Lethal Weapon series, the Braveheart movie, Oscar-nominated. What does how dare you? That's what I mean. It's false sense of power. You're passing judgment on a man whose resume makes you look like shit. And then on top of that, you're not canceling anything. That was my gripe.
Well, I can take it a little bit further if you like.
Please.
Every time you comment on he ain't shit, we canceled him. And every time that gets another hit, you just made him a little bit bigger every time. If you want to cancel someone, don't comment on him. On social media, it's all about the hits. It's about the attraction. It's about getting into the algorithm. If you cancel someone, you don't hit tag or look at any of their videos. That's how you actually make a difference if you want to. And I do understand your point about $425 million. But the thing is, his $425 million, he still only has one vote. And that's the equalizer. Now, there are some people that are spending their money and they're making their voice heard more, but they still only get one vote.
All right. And listen, I acknowledge the he said about to his girlfriend at the time, I hope you get raped by a pack of and all the anti-Semitic comments.
What if that was hot to him, though?
What do you mean?
What if that wasn't racist? What if that was hot to him?
Hot to him?
Yeah, like he was excited about that idea.
Well, I would have needed to see his face, not hear his voice, because the voice sounded angry.
Yeah, but
but I'm saying if I got to see the face, I hope you get raped by a pack of niggas. I got to see the face.
You know, go on his Google search now and see if he has a lot of white girls, black dudes.
Yeah,
it could have been misinterpreted.
Okay. But yeah, I acknowledge that he was a clown for that. So I'm not giving him a pass on that. I'm just simply saying, you know, you say you cancel him, and listen, at 70 something, worth 400 something million, your cinematic legacy intact. He don't need Hollywood.
Yeah, if I'm going to get
He
canceled,
don't need it.
if I'm going to get canceled, 70 is with money. 70 is a good age. to
With
get canceled.
$500 million.
It's a good time to get canceled.
So whatever, man. You're not hurting it. He's not losing sleep, Mel Gibson.
And that way, you're told that you're retired, and you don't have to worry about whether you're retired. Oh, you know what? They told me I'm not working anymore. What does my bank account look like? Yeah, I was about ready to be done anyway.
Come on, man. Come on, man.
I understand your point, but you understand people get mad because they think that you are giving him a pass, not explaining the situation.
You know, you have to be, listen, man, I don't claim to be the smartest dude in the room, but I think I'm brighter than a lot of walking around. And it shows in my comedy from an intellectual standpoint. Now, am I ignorant to certain things? Yes, particularly politics. But again, that doesn't mean I don't have the right to express how I feel or what I think. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of people can't see the forest beyond the trees. I wasn't sitting there saying, oh, Hosby's capping for Mel Gibson. No, I acknowledge what he said was some. All I'm saying is the reality is, you're not canceling. Stop thinking y'all have this power you don't have. It's always funny to me when I read from people, yeah, man, we ain't forgot about that Tiffany Haddish. Just so you know, we ain't forgot. Keep remembering. Because it ain't stopping nothing. I'm still on the road. I'm still getting the bag. Some weeks better than others. I'm really getting the bag. But in terms of my yearly income, I'm good, yo. I'm good. You know, I got projects I'm working on, things I'm trying to create. So, again, what you're thinking, unless I really do some really heinous shit, some murderous shit that can get me behind bars. And again, even with the Tiffany thing, I made a creative misjudgment, but I didn't break any laws. If I broke a law, and trust me, they looked. It was looked at. If I had broken laws, I would be, Mama, pick up the phone. Mama. But no, I was foolish. I took a chance creatively and I missed. It happens. I missed bad. But I didn't do anything up that was illegal. So I love it. We ain't forgot. Keep remembering, sucker. I'm still moving. You're not stopping anything.
You know, I am going to defend you on this one though too, because not because you're my friend, not because we go out on the road together. I stuck with you and stayed in your orbit here and went on the road and continue to go on the road with you because I knew you didn't do anything. And to further on what you just said, I don't know that you made a creatively bad decision at the time. It didn't age well because SNL had done it. A lot of other people had done jokes on that same vein.
Dude, we never talked about it. I know that you had certain feelings on it, and I agreed with you. But that thing, that about the Nickelodeon, remember?
Yeah.
Right. That is nothing new in Hollywood. Doing shit that might be deemed tasteless, inappropriate. I didn't invent that shit. I was trying to make a statement, and at the same time, be funny about something serious.
And there was a message in what you were saying.
Exactly.
And people missed the message because they just saw
something that turned them off and that they deemed not suitable.
But there is a message in there. And the message is, and I'm going to speak for you because I know you're not really supposed to touch on this so much just for your health in this business. But for what you... The message was, you can't trust anyone around your kids. Always watch your kids yourself.
The danger ain't always outside the house. It's in it. So, but yeah, man, that's why sometimes I go, the hate and the love-hate I have for social media. It's entertaining as a... You could get caught up in the scroll vortex. Maybe even somewhat educational. And certainly if you use it right, you can make money. So those are the positives. But the negative is anonymity is gone.
But
everybody's famous or trying to be. You know, everybody got a voice, something to say, and everybody don't need to be heard from.
well, and then everybody thinks everybody agrees with them, and you're not being agreed with. Your algorithm's agreeing with you. There's another algorithm for the people who disagree with you, and there's troll farms. Did you see the video where the people have all these comments coming in, and they're on a computer? Everything's connected to a computer. They show like hundreds of phones, and then people are just commenting on it, trolling, just trying to get those numbers up, trying to bring up everybody's clicks, because it's all, but not all of it's, but there's a lot of going on the internet.
Right.
So you pick what you want to pick. But I understand what your point was. I think a lot of people miss the point, and that's why we get into this, because people, you know what you're saying on the inside of your head and how you're thinking about it. No one understands that. They're going to take it for what 3 words they heard out of the sentence.
Right.
And not the full sentence. 3 words out of the sentence.
Right.
So that's where we're at.
You know, Jerry Seinfeld had that great joke where he talked about like one of those Tinders or something where he goes, people just scroll and wipe up like a king. No, like they're dismissing you.
Yeah.
That's the energy. We don't like you. Canceled. And you just blow up and disappear. The out of here, man.
You know, one of the things that I think is funny about that is because you want friends. That's the thing. You want to build up your friends, your network, and everything on social media.
You remember a time when we'd go out to get friends?
Dude, you know how many friends I really have in life? 3.
I got 2.
That's all.
3. You, Ivan, and Ish.
I put you on there too.
Okay.
Tim and Matt are my
Right.
other 2. I feel I have other friends, but I
Right.
mean the people that you count on. Mm-hmm. That's it. And that's my crew. That's what I need. That's the people that I have around me. That's the sounding board. That's the people that when I have to check myself, that I call
Right.
them. Those are the people. Now we go online. Oh, look, all these people agree with me. They're not real people.
And they're not your friends.
You just
Before we get into this, because it is the climate, I want to go back to something a little bit, and I don't want to get too heavy, but you know, sometimes this is the nature of the beast. When we did the episode "Stopping the Steal," where you and I kind of got into it a little bit about the whole Obama, the Trump thing, and remember how I was like, I don't give a what the people think and blah, blah, blah. And you go, well, no, you should. These are the people that want to hear your voice and blah, blah, blah. I remember at one point when I would constantly tell you or read to you the emails that people write in about you and how they don't like this you say and you say that and they disagree. And you got upset. Well, not upset, but I could feel your frustration when you went, man, f- those people. I don't give a f-.
I don't.
So what's the difference, though?
Because when I'm talking about the people out there, you worry about the people that write in. I'm talking about, in general, the people that listen to you. There's people that don't write in that just write in because they know Ari Spears and they want to hear from you. They want to know what your idea is. They want to know your thoughts. They want to understand you. When I explain things, when I say what my point is, first of all, they don't know me. They don't have the same relationship for me. No one's ever come up to me and go, man, I saw last night, man, I used to watch you on Mad TV when I was a kid. I don't have a relationship with those people on the internet like that, like you do. The other point of it is when people do hear me, most of the people who agree with you don't write in. The only people that write in are the people who disagree with you. And I'm okay with that.
No, that's not true.
No,
there's a lot of people that write in that agree with me.
There's a lot of people that don't write in ever, because they're not affected by the social media the same way other people are. And they don't care. So for everyone that writes in that disagrees with you, there's people that agree with you. But I'm going to stay true to who my character is, and I'm going to say the things. And I give a detail of why I feel the way that I do. You didn't. You were just, that's it, this is it, and those people. That was the difference, and I didn't want you to do that to people who feel like they have a connection to you way deeper than they have a connection to me.
I don't know if I totally agree with that, but because I think once you're in, you're in.
But I'll still explain myself on this. I do explain myself on this. I can't help it if they dislike my explanation.
Okay, so if I give my explanation,
But you weren't given it. I said you don't give what anybody thinks. I said, but you got to let them know. You got to get. I was trying to get you to give more of the answer to the public. That's what I was trying to get, not just leave it at a very minimal place. I thought you had more in to say, and you did. By the end of it, you did say more, and that was the point. I think that sometimes you are frustrated and you say your emotions without giving them your feelings behind those emotions. And I don't usually end at an emotional argument. My problem on this podcast is I give my cerebral answer, which has no emotion in it, and people have a hard time with that. I don't necessarily agree with the cerebral answer, but those are the answers. We're supposed to live, and this is where life has become very complicated in this country. We're supposed to live in a country of laws. And we can say without a doubt that some people did not benefit from the laws because they were not interpreted or used correctly, and they were done incorrectly. And I could even say almost emotionally because of fears that some people had in this country over other people in this country. And that was wrong. But now we're taking our country where we're almost working off emotions, and the laws be damned a little bit. But the laws are the structure, that's the base. You can interpret emotion and put it in there, but there's still a structure that you have to have. And cerebrally, you have to. That's how you define your society. You have to have the laws in place. Emotionally, you change the laws because they infringe on the human element. Change the law, but you still have to work off the base of what the laws are. That's how the structure works. If you don't do it that way and you just try to do things emotionally, we get into a place where we're having all kinds of arguments that can't be won, and they can't be regulated in a way where you can go, this is right and this is wrong. Because if we talk emotional arguments, I can make emotional arguments about the argument we just had, whether someone kills someone at a young age, should they be allowed to go out? Legally, no. If we need to make changes to that law, make changes to the law. But emotionally, we could say, well, he was a young man. This is it. And if we just work off emotions, we don't have answers. We just have feelings. That's my point to this. I like when I can get you to give a reasonable answer to something without just the emotional background in it, with some of the factual background.
All right, the second thing I want to jump to is how, and this is where I go, not just me, but people go, yo, Andy, you talk out of both sides of your neck. Because when I said Trump is racist, you kept going, what makes him racist? Give me examples of what makes him racist. So I want to do two things. One, let me show this picture.
Well, but before that, I said, give me the examples. But I also said he's racist. Did I not say he was racist?
Okay.
I agree that he's racist. Give me the examples that make him racist, though.
And you needed me to do that. Why? Because even though you've acknowledged that he is?
Yes, because I think all presidents... I'm really glad you brought this up.
Be short, because I really want to go over this.
No, I'm really glad you brought this, because there's one president that I think that probably might have not been racist. And one of the most ineffective presidents of my history was Jimmy Carter. But ineffective as a president, but probably the least racist of all presidents. And I know you're going to say Obama, but I can't say that for him either, because I don't know him as his policies. Structurally, in the way that we identify racism, equally with him and Carter.
That's all I need to hear. D.L. Hewley posted this, and this is Senator Raphael Warnock. Black men are not confused. We know Trump is the man who was held accountable by the Justice Department because he wouldn't even rent apartments to black people. This is the man who took out a full-page ad in New York Times calling to execute 5 innocent young men of color. This is the man who spread the first racist birther lie about the first African-American president.
Okay, don't leave them, and I'll comment on all those then if you want me to.
Go ahead.
Well, it's up to you if you want me to.
Is it going to be long-winded?
No.
Go ahead.
I'll just knock them out real quick. The first black man, don't be confused, didn't rent to black. In what was that, 72? I would like you to go back to New York. I would like DL to go back to New York, pull up all the people that had multiple housing units, thousands of units at the time, which I think he had at least hundreds of units. He might have had thousands of units at the time, and find out people who didn't have lawsuits against them for not renting to black people. And I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying the law was ineffective at that time, and how they rented and who they rented to. Everybody had lawsuits. Every one of them. Go back and look at it. They all had it. Now, is that right? I don't know. It depends on why you're getting these lawsuits. Are they getting over and over? Did he have more than other people? Some of these are discrimination suits where someone feels that they've been wrong, so that they have a suit. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm saying that at that specific time, what is his percentage towards the rest of the renting? And he isn't the one doing the renting, but his company is structurally responsible for it. So pull up the time and let me see if it's equal or if he's way outlandish and is the biggest racist of the world.
Okay, but let me ask you, why does that matter?
It matters because in business, if someone didn't rent to me, and you say I'm white, I mean, you look at me, you say I'm white. Most of these people will say I'm white. Can I sue for them not renting to a Mexican?
If it's against the law, yeah.
But did they even see me? Is that the reason why I didn't get rented to? There can be other reasons you don't get rented to. All I'm saying is pull up the numbers. A lot of people, whatever the reasons are, people do this. See if it's a high number where you go, no, that's a racist company. They have multiple people. They're not coming down on any of their renters because as a landlord, you're responsible for the people that are doing the renting. He's not necessarily the renter.
Jump to the next one.
This one's up because I go back and forth on this one because I don't like him on this one. But at that time, when that article came out, people weren't like, oh, Trump is the biggest racist in the world. The city was against these 5. They said that they did it, and he was advocating that if you did this and you killed, and I think they thought she was going to die at the time, that they should be put to death. He did that. My problem with him is I didn't have a problem with what he did at the time because the whole city, the mayor came out against these kids. The newspapers came out. Every newspaper, every liberal paper came out against them. They ran. They had a choice whether to run that or not. They ran it. But he's never come out and said, hey, I've been informed later. It's different. He's still going off the DA that said that they still think that they had the right person, which is obvious they don't. And he hasn't changed his wording on that. That's up. But at the time, what he did and what you're using, I don't feel that same way about it. You're using something against him that all of New York was going with at the time.
So again, this feels like you're saying, hey, if everybody else is doing it, it's okay.
I'm saying that if the mood of the city was that, you're calling one person out for doing that when the whole city was doing it. The newspapers
so that makes it okay for him to do it?
No, it's not.
But it sounds like you're defending it.
I'm not defending it. I'm saying in context, you got to put it into context. Is he the racist, or is this what the city was doing? When you went to the theater in Gladiator and you're watching someone kill someone in there, do you think that that's right to go watch someone kill someone, or was that the mood of the of Gladiators and the entertainment for the people? That's what they did. Do you think it's right? Would you go watch someone actually take a sword and kill someone have a knife fight and then stab him and kill him at the end?
Not if I personally think it's morally imprehensible.
But that was the culture.
I know, but you just asked me a question, and I'm telling you as an individual, and I can't speak for other individuals, but for me, if I go, hey, man, that's just morally up, well, then I'm not going to be at that stadium.
I agree with you if your feelings are bigger than the culture and you're not moving with the culture. Those were cultural movements at the time. I'm not agreeing with it as where I sit here today, but I always say you can't judge yesterday from the lens of today.
Go for the third one.
What's the third one?
The birther movement.
This is where he's just a lowbrow person. I can't even say anything about that one. I don't know. Obviously, he isn't the first one to bring that up. I know it says he's the first one, but he isn't quick enough to come up with that on his own. But that one just seemed vindictive. That one seemed vindictive, and I don't know what Trump's problem with Obama is. That's a question I wish someone would ask him. Is really what was his?
Obama was smarter, cooler, more well liked. And it might have been because he was black, too.
Okay. If you wanted to say that. But that's the question I would like to ask him.
Okay, now I want to play this thing real quick.
I hate how they keep saying that this man is a racist right here.
Black man to black man, you are loud and wrong. And I'm about to patiently debunk every single claim you just made.
But last time I checked, didn't he endorse Jesse Jackson when he was trying to run for president to be the first black president ever?
Wrong. The Daily Beast reported in 2017 that Jesse Jackson himself clarified with him out of his own mouth that there was no evidence that Donald Trump endorsed any of his campaigns. He didn't even endorse David Dinkins for mayor in 1988 like he promised he would.
Wasn't he the same one that funded the Black Panther Party?
Wrong again, or more specifically, not confirmed, because that initial claim was made 4 months ago by 82-year-old David Hillard, one of the original members of the Black Panther Party, which then was followed up with a clarification interview between his grandson Eric Jones and Roland S. Martin on his YouTube channel, where not only Eric explained to take it with a grain of salt because David is sadly suffering from dementia, but as of 4 months now, there has yet to be any other Black Panther member to come forward and second confirm that this is even true.
Wasn't he the same one to send a private jet when Nelson Mandela got out of prison?
Wrong for a third time. The very first 3 results from a simple Google search provide a whole layer of context that you are missing. Donald Trump, in fact, charged Nelson Mandela $130,000 to use his plane. Even Nelson Mandela's team and security details can attest to this. But folks such as yourself more than likely saw and believed like this on Twitter and Instagram that were painting him to be some kind of hero.
Wasn't he the same one that black people used to always say, I want money or want to be just like this man in hip-hop community?
Now, I know I'm not that old, but what hip-hop community?
Wasn't he the same one hugged up on Oprah Winfrey, and Oprah Winfrey was giving him all this credit and whatnot when he was Democrat?
It's very telling when some folks can't recognize certain shows might be fake, because those two hate each other, and they more than likely hated each other behind closed doors. And then you led with him being a Democrat. He has in fact jumped between both parties, but started as a Republican in 1987.
Wasn't he the only president that took a peek at what Ice Cube was talking about at one point that all the other politicians overlooked?
Wrong again. Ice Cube in fact confirmed that both parties did reach out to him. The Democrats simply said that we will look into it further after the election. Now the Republicans and Donald Trump, yes, they did go to him. They looked at his manifesto titled A Contract with Black America, and then he went and made his own policy titled the Platinum Plan, which I want you to go onto his platinum plan and explain to me what exactly did he do on that plan while he was president.
And then Kamala Harris sit right there and say what she ain't gonna do for black people on stage. And
wrong once more, and this time you are referring to an interview with The Griot where she addresses her plan for Black America and if she supports reparations or not, where y'all take that infamous line completely out of context.
Then 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, she finally wrote a 9-page talking about what she gonna do for the black people.
And then you had an interesting choice of words here. She finally wrote a 9-page policy for black men and opportunity in the black community, as if she just wrote that overnight. That is not how politics works. Policies take months to develop and then an additional months just for a bill to be introduced.
Y'all and this media and this news, black people need to stop looking at the news. That's what y'all need to do. CNN and all that, because they have an agenda. Why don't you read the newspaper and whatnot?
I couldn't agree more. I do wish brothers like you would read a newspaper or an article or do general research to find the truth. The same way I would hope that brothers such as yourself would have enough comprehension to recognize the history of Donald Trump being a liar and a scammer. He is quite literally a capitalist and a tokenizer. Without even bringing up the racism, this is the same former president that withheld disaster relief from the California fires to check to see how many votes he would get first. This is the same former president that did not want to give out stimulus checks during COVID-19 unless his name was on the checks. All tactics of a narcissist to make themselves look good, to pat themselves on the back in the future. So when they take credit and leave out little details, they rely on you guys to be like, oh, he didn't do this. He's not racist. He did such and such. He did this and that. When that's far from the truth. And then he preys on y'all not knowing all the racist things he has done and said behind closed doors. This division within our community is embarrassing. And this is exactly what bigots wanted.
I'm voting for the black girl.
Well, there's no reason not to.
You gave me all the reasons why, you know.
I never gave you a reason why not to. I just said that as the only reason wasn't a good reason, is what I said. I think that you say that you're not politically savvy, but I think that you have enough political savvy in you that you could give just another reason besides that she's.
Okay, well, he gave me all the reasons.
Well,
and even before him, again, when people were going, oh, she locks up black men for and this and this and that. Again, I brought the receipts about how that was. And her true position versus the men who were really responsible, 3 white guys.
No. Okay, let me just say this. You also accepted the reason someone else gave you. Did you do any more research into it?
Okay, so they're wrong then.
No, I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm just saying, did you do any more research?
So
into
let
it?
me do the research to make sure that they lying.
No, do the research to confirm that they're correct.
Okay.
Like, for instance, I knew about the Mandela thing. I never did the research on it. So I never said anything on this podcast before because I was like, that sounds suspect. And I still don't know if his answer is correct. But I never brought it up because I didn't do the research on it. And I don't know. And I'm not assuming either one of them's telling the truth. When I hear somebody like him, like the dude you just played, and he said, Donald Trump is a capitalist. That sounds negative the way he said it, right? So he obviously has a problem with capitalism. I have no problem with capitalism. I think that capitalism could be done better. We can legislate capitalism differently so that it has a better outcome. But capitalism also is what provides one of the greatest economies ever. It allows someone to go from a poor to rich.
I don't have a problem with it either.
So when
based on what it can do,
so when
I don't have a problem with that.
So when someone points and says he's a capitalist,
okay, but
I have to go. Wait a minute. Let me hear his agenda.
Let's subtract capitalists. All the racists, narcissists.
He's a narcissist.
Okay, so fine. Even if we take capitalists out, you still got narcissists. You still got racists. You still got rapists. What is there to like?
Well, I can't give you rapist. I told you this. I can't give you that.
Of course you can.
Where's the rape case that he was convicted of?
Somebody sent an email and they said to you, "Yo, you said he was never convicted. He was. He was.
He was in." This is so much more complicated than that.
Oh, God.
No, he was convicted in a civil court, and not as a rapist, but she won a judgment against him. She won a judgment against him because it was. It doesn't have to be a unanimous decision where this man did this. It was like, could he have done it? Maybe he did it. There was something, and it wasn't about that. It was about his sexual assault and what she won the case on was the fact that he went and put a newspaper article and demeaned her character, and that's what she won the money on, not on rape. It wasn't on rape. He was given a judgment, but it wasn't on rape.
Well, if you ever went into law and I up, you would be my attorney.
No, but
I've never seen someone defend a piece of shit so hard as you.
Because you have to. The law requires pieces of shit get the same defense.
Oh, you're right. That's the technicality. You hang on.
No, it's not a technicality. But if he didn't,
if it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, walks like a duck, it ain't a duck. If it's Donald Trump.
No, it could be a chocolate. It could be a chocolate duck that you got for Easter. I don't know. That's not a real duck. That's chocolate duck. What I'm saying is you have to take it and listen to what everybody's saying and then do your own research. I'm never saying that you should. There's not one time when I said on this podcast, you should vote for Donald Trump. Has there ever been a time that I said that? Mm-mm. Has there been a time that I said, I'm going to vote for Donald Trump? I've never said I wouldn't vote for Kamala. I never said that either. I never said that. I have tried to figure this out because I'm going back and forth on my options on what is available to me and what's going to work for my head. I don't like either of our choices. I don't like, and I have a lot of reasons why I don't like her as well. And I have a lot of reasons why I feel like the Democratic Party, this is my problem with her. This is my problem with Biden right now. The Democratic Party, Biden isn't able to run for office. We haven't heard from Biden, and the country's still running. Who's running the country?
All right, let's get ready to move on because we're about to tread some of the same waters.
Well, we could do this for another 15 minutes and we could be done. No. Because I don't know who's running it. The Democratic Party's running it, and I have a strong suspicion that they're going to be running it when she's elected, not her.
All right, my last parting words. I'm voting for the black chick.
Yeah, you can vote for her.
WB, 1,000 Years of Warner Brothers. Episode 1, when they talked about how Warner Brothers was almost about to go down the drain, the first major star that saved it was a dog.
Rin Tin Tin.
Rin Tin Tin. I never knew that. I thought Lassie was always the...
Oh no, Rin Tin Tin. They used to do those. I think Rin Tin Tin had was like a legacy of the movie business at one time.
Lassie's a collie, right?
Lassie's a collie, and she had a television show.
Yeah, I remember Lassie. I'd never heard of Rin Tin Tin.
Rin Tin Tin. You see, there's 10 years between us. There's a lot that's the same, but there's 10 years makes a difference. Rin Tin Tin was a big deal, and I knew it because it was a big deal even to my.
But not bigger than Lassie.
At that time, yeah, because there was no Lassie.
really?
So Rin Tin Tin saved a movie studio. It was a bit. It was as we learned later, they lost all that footage of Rin Tin Tin. There really is minimal footage now, so people don't really know it. It would be great if we could see it, but they didn't have it. We don't have that.
And historical movie fact that I did not know, of the four Warner brothers, Sam Warner was the one that brought sound to movies.
Yeah.
That's a game changer.
You don't want to talk about how these four immigrant Jews came over and tilted? Okay, I just want to make sure, because that was the beginning.
No,
of it.
that's your. I'm saving that for you.
Me? Okay.
And I was like, dude, can you imagine in 2024 watching a movie with no sound? I don't know what would be worse, no sound or subtitles. Because you know how I feel about subtitles. I'm not paying $15 to go see a movie and I have to read. Movies is about escapism. Sit in the theater, you got your popcorn, your candy, your Pepsi. I want to be entertained. I don't want to read.
Reading isn't hard. You just look at it and you get used to it if you stick it out.
It's hard to invest in the moment of the scene when I got to read words.
You know, I guess I don't particularly, I agree with you. I don't necessarily enjoy it, but I'll tell you this has happened. Because of Netflix and all the other streaming channels, I a lot of times will leave the closed caption on. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes when you're watching a movie and there's people over at the house or whatever, you might.
I can't stand that.
I'll watch it so I can, and I can.
I can't stand that.
And I've got so used to being able to have that on there now that it's easier for me to go to a movie.
My baby mother will do that and it annoys the shit out of me.
I watched the last movie I saw that was all subtitles that I paid to go see was Parasite. I don't know if you know that it was. No. I believe it's a Korean movie. And I watched the whole. And what's really funny about it, the movie is about someone living in the house.
Really?
Yeah, like what we discussed at the beginning of this. But not a killer. So, or it could be. I'm not going to tell you the movie. But it was good, and I watched it all with the subtitles. It didn't bother me. But yeah, the sound. I don't. You know, and I don't really. The talking is one thing, but what if you didn't have the car sounds, the explosion sounds?
And you just saw it?
Yeah, you just watch it. You know, when you watch that and you see the thing explode, or the covered wagon. You need the clomp of the dog. You need the clomp of the horse. We need all that background noise.
Dude, what a horrible time to be alive.
Hey, that was advanced without it. That was,
and again, I could imagine
coming from nothing.
And we're obviously speaking from living we're in the 21st century.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Coming from the 21st century where we got smartphones, iPads, you know, all the greatest up-to-date technology. You look back at that, you go, ugh. But if you didn't know this and you came from that, you wouldn't know any better. But I'm just going, even when you look at the way they dress, overly conservative, showed no skin, the women or the guys. Suits, straw square hats, you know, women wearing almost damn near dresses and turtlenecks up to their chin. Even when you saw them at the beach, the bathing suits weren't what we see today, a thong up the ass, a string up the ass. They were like actual like pantsuits. What a horrible time to be alive.
You know what's funny though too is that there's radio though at this
time. Of course there is, Andy. Let me tell you. Yes, there was radio back in the days when people were dressed to the nines and the women were the cat's meow. Can you imagine? That was a phrase. Cat's meow. Like that was cool. Oh, the glory days. I wish we could get back to that. Cigarette smokes and beating your wife when the meatloaf was cold. Those were the days. Ha, hock, tua, spit on that thing. Red Butler, yeah.
I just don't understand how they couldn't figure. I don't. You know, I guess it's more complicated than that. Obviously, they spend a lot of money to figure it out. But, you know, if you can have radio and you can have movies, how can you not have movies with sound? We had sound.
Yeah.
So, you know, but I don't understand the technology of movie making, so of sound and all that put together. Right. So I guess, obviously, it's more complicated than I'm just thinking, okay, start the movie, put the record on, let it roll, you know. Right. But it's obviously different than that.
Right.
But I like how you said the clothes, too. The people that wore the clothes on the time. And they would wear those suits without taking a shower.
Yeah.
Or because they didn't have running water.
Right. Ooh, goodness.
Oh, man.
Ooh. Life couldn't have been fun.
No.
Oh.
No deodorant.
Oh. I know Indians back then were like, what is the problem? And the big star back then was Al Jolson.
Yeah, and that's how they got the music in there, right? That's like
The big hit movie, I think it was called Jazz Singer.
yeah.
And he would do blackface.
And I like how they said Al Jolson, blackface was common but controversial.
Yeah. You got to see without seeing niggas.
That is so. When you see it though, and this is like I hate to say it, does it age well? No, it doesn't age well.
Of course, blackface
But no, obviously,
never ages well.
But it was common at that time. People went with it, but it was common. And then now we look at it. So I guess here's what I'm trying to say. If there was a lot of people doing it, but Al Jolson is the one who's the most famous for doing it, right?
A white man most famous for being a black man.
So all the other people, they just did it, but they weren't the most famous for it. So Al Jolson is the one that you go, that's the one.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So when you say don't age well and be on the top either. Because if it's something that's not going to age well and you're on the top, you're going to be the one that's the poster face, which is a horrible way to put it. But you're going to be the one that takes the responsibility for it. Because if it is common, a lot of people were doing it. And people are listening to this going to go, it's still being done. And people do it to this day. Not necessarily in a movie, but it still happens. So, but that's just... when we talk about things not aging well, that's and this is the beginning. The beginning of it didn't age well. Beginning of sound. And what else do you got on this episode?
A couple things. You want to get to what you want to get to?
No, I was just going to say, because it was at the beginning of where they talk about the Warner Brothers, where these it's a Jewish family, right? They come over and they're outcasts from. They started off because they were just trying to figure out how to make money.
Yeah.
And they started up with doing a theater, playing a movie, then buying a theater, then doing more and more until they eventually got to Warner Brothers. So they're outside, and they're kind of like gangsters of this movie business.
Yeah.
And I thought that was interesting. Warner Brothers is really the more independent of the movie industry.
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of interesting that they came over and just worked their way into it.
Them Jews, boy, they don't f around, man.
And they get, we think about when we talk about Jews in a way, there's a gangster side to them.
Of course.
And that doesn't get talked about. But when you're poor and
them yarmulkes are more dangerous than them brim hats.
When you
That's it. Fucking take that, Lucky Luciano.
Yeah.
And Bugsy Siegel and Al Capone.
When you're trying to scrape out a living and trying to figure out how to make it, gangster happens.
You know what I'm saying?
All right. That was all I had for them. But the family, the interesting thing too about them, and I just want to say this because we're going to hear about this more. If you watch this, you'll hear about this more. I don't know how in detail. Each one of them had their own specific. The reason it worked out so well in this business, each one of them had their own
specialty
into this business.
Yeah.
That were able to capitalize and do better because each one kind of had their position and did something better than the other.
Yeah,
one.
and they said that when the big film premiered, I think it might have been Jazz Singer with Al Jolson. When they incorporated sound, Sam Warner wasn't able to make none of them made the premiere because Sam Warner died,
Right.
and so they weren't even they weren't even there to celebrate their game-changing moment.
This was the big accomplishment that they figured out sound, and they invested. What they said basically was if it didn't work, that was the end of Warner Brothers.
Right.
So they went in, they worked to do sound, and that's why when I'm saying this was common, the blackface part of it was common. They used it. It was so common that they used that to launch sound because they wanted the musical. They wanted the jazz singer, and so. Again, when it doesn't age well,
Right.
and you're the top, you're the pinnacle of what doesn't age well, you're going to take the heat for all of it.
Right. It's funny. I noticed this, and this was so that era. I went because they showed a clip of a James Cagney movie, and of course, James Cagney and Humphrey Bogart were like the top two. They were the Stallone and Schwarzenegger for that time. And I go, why in that era of films did the tough guy gangsters always do the cliche after shooting at the cops? Once they run out of bullets, they throw a gun at the cop. Like if the bullets didn't stop them, you throw in the revolver will.
I think you forgot one part of that, though.
What?
They have to click the gun like 3 more times, and then
Oh,
they throw
yeah. Pow, pow. And then after it runs out, click, click, Yeah, Shay.
You know what's also kind of funny because you brought it up to this Bogart and Cagney,
Right.
and then you said Stallone and Schwarzenegger.
Right.
The acting really hasn't improved that much since then. It's
No, I can't give you that. I can't give you that. Dude, listen.
but they're
Cagney was a bona fide dude.
Stallone's a bona fide actor. He can act.
I know, but there was nothing distracting about Cagney. Whereas, I forget the guy's name, but the guy that literally went, yeah, Shane,
Yeah.
that's distracting.
Okay, so he's more of the okay.
Cagney, there was nothing distracting with Stallone.
You have love for Cagney because it's your dad's guy.
Well, no, because I'm spitting facts.
Yeah.
There was nothing distracting about Cagney.
Wait,
Stallone
his-
is distracting.
His death scenes were a little distracting, dude.
Who, Cagney?
Yeah, he really died when he died.
I mean, you know.
that was acting then, though. You had to overplay it because you weren't going to get blood and guts. And,
Yeah.
So you had to.
And Humphrey Bogart was another one, you know?
Humphrey Bogart's a good actor, man.
Yeah.
I was just around, but it's still funny that those are the guys.
It's funny when they talk, it's like the movie studios back in those days ran like the NBA where you were tied to long-term contracts.
Yeah.
Until Olivia de Havilland changed the system, and now it's free agency.
Do you notice that women always talk about the power that they don't have, but they're always the ones that can change the system?
They suck in the right.
I'm not saying that way,
But I'm saying,
but that power.
you goddamn right. If you suck in the executives at MGM, you can change some, especially if you the missus. There's power in sex. Women know that. They use it.
Exactly. I just watched a video where this girl talks about going over to Lowe's. I'm serious.
Lowe's video?
Lowe's? No, she goes Lowe's department store because she needed. She was going to work out, so she was wearing some very skimpy clothes. She gets there. She tells the guy, my top loader washer died. I need to get a new washer. He goes, did you consider a front loader? She goes, well, I don't. What's the difference? He goes, well, just bend down, stick your head in there, see if you can get the clothes out. So she bends down and she sticks it in. And he goes, she sets up and she looks at him. And she goes, I see what you were doing there. And he goes. Kind of laughed a little bit, and she goes, "But I got $300 off my washer."
He gave her $300 off?
Yeah.
Because he
She
took a
did,
peek?
Oh. So she knew. I'm not saying that it's right. I'm saying, but you're playing the same game.
Right. You see where Shaq caught flack for Angel Reese? He did a podcast, and he basically said that as beautiful as she is, she could probably make more money if she did it My OnlyFans, and that they deemed to lower the rim, and he's catching flack.
Why is he catching flack though?
Sexist.
But what do you say? Tell me what he said that isn't true.
Hey, I agree with you. And a lot of people in the comments were like, what's the problem? Especially since Angel Reese touts herself as this, I'm a girl, look at me when I'm not on the court, my long legs, and flaunting her sexuality. And
He didn't say you should do an OnlyFans. He said you probably could make more money.
yeah, because she was talking about that the WNBA doesn't pay her rent. Like, her rent's $8,000 a month, and that all her bills in total, the WNBA barely covers her bills.
Okay, so again, he didn't say that you should have an OnlyFans. He said that you could probably make more money having
more money out of OnlyFans.
and that's without a doubt is probably true. There's a lot of people that make hundreds of thousands of dollars a month on OnlyFans. Then he said that they should lower the rim. What he keeps saying is one of the problems with the game is it isn't as spectacular looking as the men's version, the NBA, because there's not dunking, there's not this over the top, above the rim kind of play. And he's saying that could happen if you were to lower the rim. Probably even 4 inches would make a difference if you wanted to. It doesn't have to be a whole foot. I think he said a foot before. But you could do that. And
he even said that if she could dunk, if she would dunk, it probably would make a difference.
It would change how the game is being played, how it's looked at. But the game is already changing. I
say uniform change. I say thongs, shirtless, and stilettos.
Okay, now that's a whole different. Now he would be catching flack, and he should rightfully if he said that, but he didn't say
Listen,
that.
I know a lot of dudes that would pay money to see some of the women with OnlyFans. A lot of them wouldn't make no money because you go to see them and then they pull their out.
Dude, if Lunel has OnlyFans, you can have an OnlyFans.
Hey, man, there's some dudes that are turned on by garbage.
Listen, I didn't say that about her. I just said she's not in her prime. Well, she might think she's in her prime, so I shouldn't say that. But I'm talking about physical prime. She's not there, and she makes money off of it.
Listen, I'm joking, but you know, it will always have a desire to be seen, no matter what form it comes in, no matter how pristine or how trash. There's a dude out there that wants to see.
There's a lip. There's lips for every flavor.
There you go. Some lips have no flavor. You know, it's amazing how people get stuck in their time capsule because Jack Warner being stuck in his old ways, he came from an era of the 20s, 30s, and 40s, and they said that he eventually sold his stake in the company because going into the 60s and 70s, he felt like the movie stars, the tone of the movies, the energy wasn't the 20s, 30s, and 40s no more. So he felt like that was a bad thing. Aren't you as a businessman supposed to have the vision to see beyond and into the future?
Certain people can see what's happening in the future. Other people are stuck in what made them great. And that's when he made that movie, 42nd Street, which made them money, but it was the end of that. But the reason I'm glad
that era?
Yeah, but the reason I'm glad it was already past its time, but it brought the people back in who wanted that stuff from before.
Right.
But that's going to run out too because those people are eventually going to disappear and it's not your audience. You need to look at the new audience who's coming up. Here's why I wanted to say that, and I'm glad you brought this up because that's one of my notes in here. 42nd Street reminded me so much because Warner Brothers, that's Warner Brothers' thing. The musical was Warner Brothers' things. Who made the Joker? Part two. Warner Brothers. This was again back to where this is what happens when artists' visions get a little bit when they have. This is why when you say let the artist do what the artists do, but this is what happens when the artists sometimes with their eccentric ideas go too far, and there has to be a money person that goes, that's too far. We like what you're doing. I want you to create the greatest art, but a musical out of the Joker. Make a musical out of this. But the Joker, this is comic book people. Right. They're not these people. That Joker is reminiscent to that.
Time.
And that's what it seems like a throwback to, that it was something, and only Warner Brothers would have been able to do that. And they did it. And that's the reaction you got. You made a Joker movie. You made a comic book movie not for people that go to comic book movies.
Dude, that would have been just as bad if somebody ever decided to do. And I think they have it on Broadway. But Rocky, the musical. I know I'm going to win this fight. But I'm going to train tonight. Get him, kid. You can do it. Just make your moves fluid. And when I win, I ain't got no crabs. And I'm going to say, Adrian, I'm the champ. Out of here, man. Leave man alone.
The difference is that musical, and if you put Rocky, and I never seen that there's a musical Rocky.
I really think there was one.
Okay, if there is, the musical Rocky was put in Broadway for people that go to Broadway to see a Rocky musical. That doesn't mean the people that see the Rocky, the movie, are going to go to the musical. These are people that go to musicals and they go, well, let me see what they can do with this up sports story. That's what those people are doing if they're going to see the Rocky musical, or someone that happens to like Rocky that happens to like musicals. But when you take a comic book movie that people who love comic books are going to, that's not what they're looking for. And you put it in the same genre. At least if you made a musical, you put it on Broadway for people that go to Broadway. This is not the same thing when you make the Joker and you make it a musical for the movies. Movie people that go to see the Joker, that's why they didn't advertise it as a musical, because they knew those people wouldn't go.
When Apollo fought Drago, he tried. And Drago said, if he dies, he dies. Fuck out of here.
You sure you don't want to do this as a two-parter, man? Look where we're at.
No, we'll be done in no time.
Okay.
We'll be done in no time.
Okay.
Half hour. We got 40 minutes still. We'll be done. It'll be 4 o'clock. Blades and Saddles, episode 2. Why were the 70s such a I don't give a era, and why can't we get back to that? What the are we afraid of? Stanley Kubrick rape scene in the movie. I should have now I'm my own self up because I should have wrote the movie name down. But yeah, everything, and I know we've kind of treaded this water a little bit. Everything in the 70s.
It the Deer Hunter?
It might have been.
I don't know if it was.
But everything was just so. Now everything, well, especially now, and we talking about today, 2024, everything is But I mean, before today, where everything is so desensitized and woke and political correct. Even in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, when was hardcore, it just seemed like the 70s, anything went.
It wasn't that. The movie was. It's the one with Malcolm McDowell. It's. I love that movie too. It's
going with the rape scene.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about here. I think I wrote it down. I probably didn't because I know the movie. I see it. I own that movie. Clockwork Orange.
Okay.
Clockwork Orange. And that's Did you see
No.
it though? Man, he goes in and he cuts her shirt that she's wearing around her.
Yeah.
And it just gets worse from there.
Really? It's graphic?
It for that time it was extremely graphic. But the movie is about no boundaries, and that's kind of it's about that you either give people all. I shouldn't try to make it this easy to describe. It's either someone has the right to do to make their own decisions, or they have no rights to make any decisions. Basically,
Right.
is what it comes down to, and the government controlling those rights. That we have to deal with the chaos that we deal with, so that people can have the right to do what they want to do, and hopefully it's legal and moral.
Right.
And if not, the choice is to take that away from him. And is that legal and moral to make someone so that you take away any ability that they have to make a wrong decision? It's a great movie though. It's worth seeing.
Success in doing the forbidden. Listen. I'm sorry. I don't. Forgive me, people. I know I say this all the time. If you had $1 for every time I say this, some of y'all will be rich. But when we talk about some of these topics, you can't help but tread some of the same water. I noticed that the trend is whatever's forbidden, whatever is deemed taboo, stay away from that, which the studios will tend to want to do. Those are the hits. Those are the things that when you tell people this ain't good for you, I'm going to decide what's not good for you. I'm going to decide what you shouldn't see. Now I got to see it.
Especially if it's done right.
Right. And one of the things that they constantly said about Warner Brothers is, from when it first started with the four brothers to whoever took over after that, to the next person that took over after that, they just had a thing where they went, we're taking chances.
Because they will take chances on cultural statements. That's what it was.
Yes.
And I love that Warner Brothers is still the studio to do that. But I have an issue with something that comes out of this, because at this particular time that you're talking about in this movie is when we get the enforcer, the Clint Eastwood.
Right.
And Clint Eastwood, to me, is a pivotal place in our culture, because this was the time when they felt like criminals were getting away with everything. And what we needed in this world, and this was the statement, a cop that is the anti-hero, the one that's going to go out and say, and they, at the end of that movie,
That puts in a place.
but it's a white dude that he kills at the end of the movie.
Even better.
So he kills, but that is what it is, right?
Yeah.
And so but the culture, and I'm not going to say it's just on the movie, but movies have an impact on our culture. And what is it? We needed people to go out and thump heads together. We're for that. We want people to be told, yeah, you're up to no good. This is what we're going to do to you. And our culture moved into this direction for a long time. And I'm not putting those two together, because I love Clint Eastwood. I'm not trying to say that this was related to him, but I'm talking about how the culture swings depending on something like this movie. And that dude, listen, I'm not even going to put it into that, because I'm not going to give him that kind of credit. I'm not even going to relate him to Clint Eastwood. But
Who?
I don't want to.
Trump?
No. Has nothing to do with Trump. But when you have those people, but Trump is akin to that. He's trying to be the tough guy talk. But that's not where I was going at all. I was talking about real policing.
Oh.
When police have that I'm going to be that guy. That's a problem. That's not what we want.
Dude, I saw a clip today before I came over where a cop goes to a house and it's a mom and her 2 kids, white mom or Hispanic maybe, I don't know, but she look white. But you do too, but you're Hispanic. But he's a sheriff and she opens the door and he basically steps in her house and she tells him, "Why are you in my house? You don't have a warrant." And he's getting mad that she's telling him to leave. And at one point he goes, "I own your house." And when she tells him again to get out, dude, he grabs her by the throat, slams her up against the wall in front of the kids, damn near throws her to the ground, cuffs her. And you could see in his attitude, his bravado, his tone, several people in the comments, yo, that dude's a monster. There's something wrong with him. A mom in front of her 2 kids and you grab her by the throat. She's right. You don't have a warrant. Why are you in her house? You own her house? See, that's crazy.
And this is the problem. I don't want. Listen, the police have gone through a lot. We really, people I think are realizing how much policing that they actually need at some point. But there's this aggressive policing that is not good for a community. And some of these people that become police have a complex within them anyway. And they don't want to be told no, that they can't do what they think they deem is the right thing to do. There's a legal thing too. This is where we get back to it. Emotional, legal. You still have to work from a legal standpoint. And that's we're watching this right now. And I'm not saying the reason I wanted to be careful is because I don't want to put this on Clint Eastwood. He was making a movie and a commentary on that specific time. But to look at it today, I think some of this thing culturally has fallen. I think it's obvious that some of this is in the police force, in this talking tough and how we do. That's not how it was intended. So yes, movies impact us culturally, and Warner Brothers was one of the people that saw this. And some of their movies have impacted us in a very positive way culturally. But this movie here, I think, is the movie that I saw. And there's other people like Charles Bronson, but he wasn't a cop. He was
vigilante.
Yeah. So there's these movies where we wanted the good guys to win because we felt the bad guys were getting away, using the system to get away with things, and we needed some of these bad guys. These not bad guys. These cops that were running on the gray area to try to make things right.
Right.
But now where are we?
Well, going back to what I said about the success is doing the forbidden. And, they talked about, Bruce Lee being so trailblazing because, again, it was far from the norm. Giving another culture, Asians, a chance to shine under the assumption that white America is not ready. Because that's how will white America receive this? Will white people be ready to receive an Asian man on the screen for an hour and a half? And I'm just going, again, to say white America isn't ready for something different when history has shown us that white America loves to venture into the unknown. They love it.
They love all the...
They want the window into, what is that like?
But, dude, I remember being at the theater watching Bruce Lee movies, but my dad would take us, not at the theater, the drive-in. And not only did they want to see it,
right?
But they wanted to be it, and they wanted to accept the fact that Bruce Lee was basically flying in some of these kicks, where he was like, and they would make like some sounds almost like a chicken flapping its wings, blah, 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 as he's flying. And I was like, you can do that in karate? And my dad goes, I don't know, maybe so,
Right.
So the impact of that is huge. Plus, everybody is ready to see something different and something new. I don't, they didn't bring it up because I don't think it's their movie, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, which is the movie. They brought up The Matrix, but the movie before The Matrix, it lets you see at home on DVD, was Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, where you've seen all these great effects that they eventually used in The Matrix as well.
Right.
Unbelievable movies, and these foreign films, and being not within a system, they make some incredible movie. So you have to be willing to go outside of your network. So yeah.
And again, talking about Warner Brothers going outside of the norm, when they talked about The Exorcist, I went, the amount of holy shit for a movie at that time involving a child is crazy. The amount of profanity that came out of a child's mouth. And then on top of that, the movie was released on Christmas. You're releasing The Exorcist on the most family-loving, I don't know how much Christmas plays into religion, but just That's a happy day. That's snow. That's gifts. That's caroling and singing. And you releasing a movie about a child being a devil?
I just like to explain that all the owners, all the people from the original family, I don't think are with Warner Brothers anymore at this time. They weren't the Jews releasing this Exorcist movie on Christmas. That movie has, I have mixed emotions like I have with The Enforcer on that. I don't like devil movies. I don't mind a scary movie. I just don't like, there's a scene in Dracula where he's the undead, right? And the only way he can get into your house is if you invite Dracula in. He knocks on your door and he can say, come on in. And then now Dracula can come into your house. At that point, he can't come into your house on his own. That's the storyline of Dracula.
Yeah.
I kind of feel the same way about the devil, where I don't need devil movies going on in my house. I don't need devil movies. And then to find out, and I didn't know this before that, and I'm sure I heard it before, but I really try to keep The Exorcist out of my head. I didn't know it was a true story based on a true story where they talk about it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's based on a written documentation on an exorcism. I did know there was exorcisms going on at this time. I did not know what that was. That freaks me out, man. I don't want the devil. I've never seen The Exorcist. Every time that comes on, like sometimes I might go, damn, I kind of would like to see it, and I'll watch like a second of it, and I'm like, nope, and I change it.
Is it because you by yourself or
nope? It's not about. It's I don't want to invite the devil into my life, and I feel like watching a movie like that is.
Well, I've invited you into mine.
I don't want the devil in it, man.
Dude, I didn't know this about. And you know what? Listen, I know how in the early days of Pacino, you love. Dog Day Afternoon.
Oh, I think it's one of the greatest movies.
And I got to be honest, man, I watched both, and I think that because I am not of that time, a la your time, I couldn't appreciate it fully or invest in it fully. But then when they said, and I didn't know this because I really didn't pay attention like that, but like in Dog Day Afternoon was about Pacino robbing a bank to support and pay for his friend's gender affirmation.
Yep.
And I went, talk about ahead of your time.
Yeah. And that's based on a true story, too.
Yeah, I know that. I knew that.
And so is Serpico. But in Serpico, do you know what I really love about the movie Serpico? If you watch it again, if you ever watch it again,
Yeah.
it's about it. Really, you feel New York. You feel New York at that time. Those parties he's at, and they're having like these parties, and he's in there dancing, and he's Paco. He's a little bit different, you know.
Yeah.
He's a cop, and most people aren't like cool with cops in the 70s, and he's like in with all these people, and then you see him living in the Village, and you see his place, and then they're in the Bronx, and you've seen all these places that are iconic New York in the 70s. Man, New York is one of the characters in that movie.
Right.
And so when I'm watching that, I'm feeling New York it, just as much as I'm liking the movie. But Serpico is an amazing movie to me.
And just correct me if I'm wrong, but the person whose gender affirmation, that's the person robbing the bank with him, right?
Yeah, that's
they play Fredo, his brother.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who is the background story in him? I'm sorry, I don't know his name off the top of my head. Is an amazing actor who eventually died of cancer. And I think when he was I don't know if it was on that he was going through it, but everybody loved him as an actor. Everybody said he's like, if he would have lived, he's one of the greatest actors ever. They thought he was amazing.
Yeah.
And so everybody, but when you die, of course, everybody's going to say how awesome you are. Right. And I'm taking that with a little grain, but everybody said he was amazing. That's why he was getting into all these movies too.
And one of the things they talk about was not just the movies, but Warner Brothers branching off into TV, and how that became a powerful staple of the studio. Before
we get past it, I just want to remind you that that's also the same time that they made Mean Streets with Harvey
Keitel, and Robert De Niro.
Yeah,
I'm going to pay him.
But all these movies, from The Exorcist to that, and then the movie that's in there that doesn't fit, but just shows that Warner Brothers is willing to go out on a limb, Blazing Saddles, all came out at that same time.
Yeah. That's why I said in the top, I had Blazing Saddles, movies where they just didn't give a
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to throw that in before you got to the TV. Okay.
They talked about, one of the big television staples early on was the original Wonder Woman, Linda
Carter.
Linda Carter. My question was she for you, like for me, an automatic go-to for a beat-off session?
You want to? I'm going to take it up for you, past where you can't even go there. I'm going to. She's from Arizona.
Really?
Yeah. So, you know, when you have someone that's amazing and beautiful,
Right.
and now they actually live like in your neighborhood. Now, even as remote
saw
as it
her?
is, it's almost a possibility. No, I never saw her in Arizona, but you just knew that she was from Arizona.
Right.
So now, like I told you, I didn't do comedy because as growing up, I always thought comedy was something I would like to do, but I was like, oh, no one from here does comedy. We have to bring people to do comedy.
Right.
We don't do that. I never thought anybody was famous from Arizona. Now here's this lady. She was from Phoenix. I'm in Tucson,
Right.
but she's a star on this show, and she's not only a star, she's Wonder Woman.
Right.
And Wonder Woman, I don't care what anybody says, and I think it's funny that one of the, you know, after Batman, I think she's the next main one that comes out on television. That's a big deal. Like that's on a regular television series.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
The Incredible Hulk comes out
Right.
after or before.
I'm not sure.
But it's about the same time,
Right.
and that's Bill Bixby as the Incredible
Yeah.
Hulk.
And Lou Ferrigno.
Yeah, and Lou Ferrigno is the Hulk. But you know, this is a woman empowered. This is 70s. This is the real girl power time. The women's lib time. Man, she was incredible.
Yes. Let me ask you. I know they weren't Warner Brothers, but Charlie's Angels from the 70s. Farrah Fawcett. I forget the other two girls, but did you ever have a jack off session to any of them?
Jacqueline Smith and Kate
There
Jackson.
you go. There
And
you
Kate
go.
Jackson, yeah.
See, your brain is better than your head brain.
And then Cheryl Ladd replaced.
there you go. Attaboy.
No, man. And I think I ended Cheryl Ladd because there was some other replacements in there. But Farrah Fawcett, even before that, like I was jealous of Lee Majors. Lee Majors was her husband at the time. Farrah Fawcett was that to me. I had the poster, the red bathing suit up there. I had posters of all the Charlie's Angels.
Right.
That was all over my room. That was the one. I still look at pictures of Farrah Fawcett. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I don't see what I saw when I was younger,
Right.
but I still like going, okay. It's like a Barbie doll.
Yeah. I mean, you know, and back then when you were an adolescent, that was everything. I gotta ask, dude. I didn't know this. I knew it was high in the ratings, but Roots, 110 million people watched it. Now my question is, could that be done today with all these other options?
Yeah.
You think so?
I think it could. I think it could be done different, and I think it should be a movie. I think I don't know why no one's ever tried to make it. I mean, we have other movies that take the place of that, but I got to tell you, from a standpoint as a kid watching that movie, and we were talking about sound, and we were talking about all that, I didn't want to miss Roots. And I knew that I wanted to watch it, and I'm in there. You know, I've done jokes where I throw Kizzy in there because she was like my hero in that
Right.
when I watched Roots.
Toby, be good.
I had a cassette player,
Right.
and I put the microphone on. And I put it on the TV where the speaker is, so that I could listen to Roots.
Yeah.
It was impactful, man. It was, and maybe that's why I say it could be today, because it had such an effect on me at that time. That goes past anything else. Visually, television wise, movie wise, I can't think of anything that had a bigger influence on me at that age. That was the youngest I was that something really moved me. Other than the other TV shows at the time, and people are going to go, oh, that doesn't make any sense. But it was because it was funny, and I love comedy. It was Happy Days because the Fonz was an iconic character, and I thought that Ralph Malph was funny. And, you know, the idea of being in the family that I was in and seeing that family be great was unbelievable to me. And then Welcome Back, Kotter. That to those
Right.
with the Sweat Hogs and the idea that I'm a goofy kid and goofy kids have a place.
Right.
Those were impactful, but nothing like Roots. Nothing I could miss one of the other shows. It was 8 days, and I was there, man. I was there for all of them, and we were in front of the television. Like I said, I recorded them. I had the cassettes, and I would listen to them afterwards. I don't know why a Hispanic Jew that looks white was so moved by that and had to watch it, but I was locked in.
Yeah, first my introduction to it was my dad, you know, had the whole collection on VHS tapes, and that was my first introduction into the history of slavery in America. And so, of course, you know, as a kid, it's somewhat traumatizing.
It's traumatizing, and there's. Like, I don't want to go into this because I don't want to turn this into a racial question here. I am There is some things that I wish would have been done more accurately, so that the depiction wasn't as. But I don't know if it would have helped, because I think maybe it was important that it was done the way that it was. I don't know. All I know is it was impactful, and I was there, and you got to see it on VHS. But see, that isn't meaningful to me at the same way it was meaningful to me. And the reason why is, if it's VHS, you can pop that in and pop it out anytime you want to. I watched it when it was on, and when it came on, if you weren't in front of the television, you didn't see it.
Yeah.
We didn't have VHS at the time. And that's how important it was to me. And I don't know. I can't even explain to you why I knew that I had to watch it, but I had to watch it. And I was there like every moment.
Again, it's the window into the forbidden. Yeah, listen, this is where I got to give white people a lot of credit. They want to know. Y'all are the we want to know people.
Some people want to know.
You're right.
Some people would rather just bury their head in their sand and go, well, it doesn't make a difference. We are where we are now.
Yes. But thank God the majority rules, because you don't get 110 million views and it's just black people. So, the good ones, I believe. You even disagree with that?
No, the good ones, I don't know what that is anymore.
Yeah. Well, listen, if you care enough to want to know the history, where you can look at it and be empathetic and understand, then hats off to you. I don't think anybody white was watching Roots going, did you see that scene?
I'm laughing because right now I'm thinking about it. Maybe we should have just watched people who did that, and then we would have known what to deal with at that moment. But yeah, dude, the scenes, man, where, listen, I'm going to tell you, like forever, I cried when Kunta Kinte gets his foot cut off, and I know now
that was traumatic for me.
Man, I cried. My mom didn't know what to do with me. I was crying.
The two scenes that me up was not just the foot. The first time Kizzy gets sold off, and that moment when she's getting sold off, but then once she gets to the new plantation, the white master rapes her.
Kizzy, to me, I don't know what it is.
All that was traumatic to me.
That whole arc of her.
Right.
Man, when her childhood friend comes and
Sandy Duncan,
and asks her for a glass of water, and she just walks over and she spits into that glass of water and she gives it to her, and you're watching her drink it. I felt like I won something. I can't explain to you why I'm as emotionally connected and was moved by that at that age, because I'm still young. I'm a kid. I mean, I'm little.
Yeah.
And that movie, I'm telling you, it had resonance. It lives in me.
Dude, I know from a special effects standpoint, when you look at it, it's pretty much awful. But for the time, it was groundbreaking. But I think the first Superman still holds up.
I think it does. I'll tell you what I do think is really funny. When you start to fly.
Yeah.
If you look now, they put so much effort into like how you land and how you take off.
Right.
And that was just, for the people on this video, it was just one leg up and then this thing like this.
Right.
And then all of a sudden he was in the air.
It didn't Christopher Reeve shit?
Yeah. It didn't have, and you can see how much effort and how much thought and how nerdy a superhero movie really is.
Right.
Because you have to put all that thought in. Okay, now it's just not about wearing a spandex suit and being on TV. You have to really think about how you move and how you do everything. And, the actors, I give them credit because the actors have really put effort into making these characters believable in real life.
Listen, I saw a great two-hour documentary on Amazon Prime about Superman, and they covered from the very beginning. It's how it was born and created by Bob Crane, I want to say.
Yeah, it was Bob Crane, and there was another guy too.
All the way till current day. And they said the bottom line for this was, if he's not believable in flight, we're doomed. When Christopher Reeve flies, we got to look on that screen and believe that a man is really flying. Now, again, when you look at like a Man of Steel, leaps and bounds in terms of the technology than CGI. Yeah. And when you look at Superman, you go, some of this shit. But dude, I'm telling you, to this day, the moment that gives me goosebumps is that first major action scene in Superman 1 when Lois falls out of the helicopter. And as he's running across the street, Christopher Reeves rips open the shirt. You see the S. He comes out of the thing, and the black guy, man, that's a bad outfit. whoa. And then when he starts flying and he catches her, he goes, don't worry, miss, I've got you. You got me. Who's got you? And then the helicopter comes and he catches that and I get goosebumps, dude.
Dude, it's such a good scene that to this day, when they make a Superman movie, that ripping the shirt open
Right.
is in all of them because it's
Yeah.
iconic.
Yeah.
It caught the moment.
Yeah.
And yeah, our effects are better now. Yes, he flies better. It looks better. They thought about it more. The suit looks superhero now.
Yeah.
That suit looked like it was made, but everything for the time.
Right.
And no, to me, it's still something. It's still good. I have what is it? Superman 2 with Richard Pryor. I have a
that's 3.
3. I have the poster with Superman carrying Richard Pryor.
Right.
So
That's when
that's when it got bad, though.
yeah. Superman 1 was great. Superman 2 topped that in terms of box office receipts and in terms of it being a better movie. But by 3, that's why they got Richard to help. Because Richard was Richard. He was hot at the time.
Yeah.
So he was like, we need Richard to help. And it's funny. In the poster, Superman's carrying Richard, but Richard really
He
carried
carries
Superman. Go ahead, brother. And dude, listen, it's almost like it don't matter how many pieces of that you love throughout your life. Your most memorable one is your first. And don't get me wrong. And Neri would argue with me to death, maybe, because he's a geek. He's got Superman tattooed on his calf. As much as I love Henry Cavill, and Henry has the body, come on, man. Christopher Reeve was my first. He is the quintessential Superman based on look.
Well, and I'm not going to disagree with you because he captures Superman, but he also captures Clark Kent.
Yes.
And Henry Cavill, as much as you want to say that he's a great Superman,
Clark Kent.
He's not Clark Kent. And the other side is, if you're super because the sun gives you your powers,
Right.
do you need all those big muscles? You should be in good shape, but you should be able to fit into a suit like a normal human.
Well, listen, I can't. Cavill had the body. He's Superman's body for real.
But he doesn't. But a true Superman who would be able to blend into a newsroom
I know what you're saying,
has
but
to look somewhat normal in a suit.
yeah, but when you look at the comics, Superman was a brolic.
I know, and I get it. I'm just saying. I think I related to the Superman that you're talking about, Christopher Reeve, because
Right.
he fit both characters on screen.
Yeah.
Yes, in the comic book, you can make you can draw Clark Kent into a suit, but you can also have him big as when he's Superman. You can't do that in real life, and that's why he was a nice alternative. Plus, I also knew that Christopher Reeve was a skinny that they had to bulk up to even get him to be able to be halfway look good in the suit.
Yeah.
So there's a lot in there that goes into Christopher Reeve, and then to find out later things like that he's a Juilliard trained actor and like that, and he's there's things about him in there that's kind of cool. But I do think he fits, like you said, he's the first Superman. Michael Keaton still is one of my favorite Batmans. Is he my favorite
A lot
Batman?
of people hold him as their first, but I'm telling you, Ben Affleck is the guy to me. More than Michael Keaton.
I love Michael Keaton as it. I really do. I mean, for the movie and the style that it was being done in, yeah, man. I'm not mad at him, and I can still watch those. I can still watch him play the part. And when he came in, and when he was in the new one with the Flash? Mm-hmm. He was still Batman to me. Nope, sorry. Batman.
Oh, you talking about Keaton?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. He was Batman because 95% of his face was covered.
Yeah.
So you didn't see the age.
No, but I mean, he was still Batman. I
Right.
mean, I still felt the Batman character.
Right. Two of the greatest movies from the 80s from Warner Brothers, and I think one holds up and the other one doesn't. Dude, I think Goonies has to be the greatest family movie for kids ever made.
I came into Goonies late because I
I love Goonies, man.
Goonies seemed like a kid's movie to
It
me.
was
and I wasn't,
fun.
but I was already older and I wasn't watching that. I just wasn't.
I think that holds up. The other one I wanted to mention that I don't think holds up, Gremlins.
Gremlins because it's the Muppets basically. You know, it's the Muppet character.
On heroin.
Yeah. So, but it's still a cute movie. My kids liked it when I showed it to them. I did watch Goonies eventually, and then I was like, no, this is a good movie. It's a good family, fun kid movie. But the movie that I like at that time in the comedy is Caddyshack. That's when Bill Murray became my hero.
You know, dude, I hear comics mention that movie, and I watch it, and I just go, I look around and go, is it me? I just don't get it.
And, you know, I would like to say it's because, you know, it's a white kind of movie. It's about golf.
I'm all for that.
But, you know, what I didn't know about it, though, it's kind of an East Coast movie, too, and I'm not East Coast. So I'm not a country clubber. I didn't have country clubs. I didn't, you know, where I grew up at, we did golf carts. We don't really have caddies out in Arizona carrying clubs. But to me, I don't know. It all resonated. And Chevy Chase was killed it in that movie. And then when you get older and you find out Chevy Chase and Bill Murray didn't get along, and they're in that movie,
right?
And Bill Murray's
a lot of people didn't get along with Chevy Chase
for good reason. But Bill Murray, that whole scene where, and I don't know if you remember it, but where he's taking that tool and he's chopping off the flowers, saying that he's like, you know, that he's hitting the ball. Oh, got a hold of that one, and that's all improvised. They said go out there and
that character did nothing for me.
Loved it. Loved it. To go, they just said, "Would you? How?" But as a comic, man, you don't think if you showed up on set and someone said, "Hey, this is the idea. This is the script. This is what we have. I want you to do what you do with it," and then you get to go. Okay, here's what I'm going to do, and they just go for it. You don't think that could be the?
My character was so abstract. I just didn't get it.
Loved it. I loved it so much. It is so. It's one of the greatest films to me.
I don't really have anything else, man.
They bought Atari, they lose Atari, they owned MTV, they sold MTV. Tim Burton's Beetlejuice, which is turning out to be one of the biggest movies of this year.
Oh, the sequel?
Yeah. And it was a great movie. I love Beetlejuice.
I barely liked the first one.
I loved the first one. I thought that was great. Goodfellas comes in. Columbia leaves Warner Brothers. Columbia and them had to merge to do something. Clint Eastwood, Heartbreak Ridge. Heartbreak Ridge was named in there, and it's one of my favorite. That's one of my favorite.
Who was in that?
Clint Eastwood.
Oh.
And shit, what's his name? Fuck, I'm not going to remember his name. He was in Black Dude.
Okay, that narrows it down.
Director. His dad was a director.
Mario Van Peebles.
Yes, they're in that together.
Oh, okay.
Man, is it a good film.
What is it at Heartbreak? What is it called?
Heartbreak Ridge.
What is it about?
It's about a battle that most people don't know about, and it was called Heartbreak Ridge.
Like some war?
Yeah, it's a war, but it's like, I think it's 80s. It's supposed to be.
I gotta check that
Dude,
out.
it is so good, and that's the first time I really got to know who Mario Van Peebles was, and then I saw, and Clint Eastwood is great in it, and his character, the grumpy... The grumpy military guy who keeps getting demoted because he just tells it like it is, sergeant, you know, that should be higher up in the military, but he's taking care of his guys. Awesome.
First time I was introduced to Mario Van Peebles Sr. was Sweet Daddy Sweetback's Badass Song.
Yeah, but that's the dad, man. That's a different it's a different dude.
I swear, when you grow up with only one television in the house and you are forced to watch what your parents watch, it's been my blessing and curse, because back then, oh, Dad, what the is this in my head? But as I've gotten older, it's helped shape me in terms of my comedy, my thoughts, my interests. But back then, when my dad would watch the Mission Impossible TV series, and on top of that, you sleep. I'm watching this and you sleep. Can I change the channel?
He's not sleeping. He's resting his eyes.
Yeah, that.
Dude, my dad, my stepdad, but my dad, Pete, he, Italian dude, but from Detroit, the only way I can say it, love black shit, man. And
that's how you're supposed to say it. Black.
That's how I grew up watching these things. That's why I know about these things. He loved that kind of stuff. So, but he loved everything. Like I said, he was the one who got me to watch these, the Kung Fu movies. And he was, I don't know what he was, man. I wish I could explain this guy, because this dude could have had a great life, but he loved exploring things. He just never loved doing things.
Yeah.
So, but he was interesting, man. But from all that time too, though, let's just go through this real quick. We get they talk about Clint Eastwood being the anchor of Warner Brothers and their relationship over 30 plus years. Then making Malcolm X is another nod to them doing cultural movies. Stand and Deliver, social commentary films. Let's see. Then they did the television shows. Murphy Brown, which Murphy Brown was caught in. I don't think that it was set out to be something cultural, but it took on its own place because somebody decided that they would call out a television show.
Was it Dan Quayle?
Yeah, and that's how it became cultural. But then Friends and ER, which takes on...
Dude, I'm going to tell you something right now. And, I don't want to relegate this to some white shit, but I do believe there are certain shows that demographically just cater to an audience that, unless it's that audience, other people, other races aren't going to watch. Like, I love when they did in the OJ TV show, and they said when some of the jurors, both black and white, when it was time for them to go back and watch TV or be entertained back at the hotel, they had arguments about the whites wanted to see Seinfeld and the blacks wanted to watch Martin. And I'm just like, Friends is so white. And that one scene that they always show where they're bringing up the couch and
Pivot.
And then Matthew Perry, shut up. That is corny as.
Would you want to know what's really funny about that? Every time
that's funny.
No, every time I see that, I think that's one of the worst episodes. That's one of the worst episodes. And it resonates with some people. It didn't resonate to me that way.
Dude, let me tell you.
I like Friends, though, dude. I'll still watch Friends.
I would sometimes get mad. And this is where sometimes I guess and I hate using this word because I just don't think it's warranted, but my bitterness comes from. I go, we would sometimes on Mad TV, if we had to play characters in prosthetics, I would have to show up to work at 4:30, 5 o'clock to sit in the makeup chair for 2.5 hours to have this. And, first 2 times you do this, you might get excited. But now it's just tedious. You're balling your fist. You want to hit somebody because it's all this little pecking of this sticky glue and hot dryers, and your skin is getting irritated. You're tired of people picking at your face. You start sweating. So you get dressed in this prosthetics for 2-3 hours. Then you go do the skit. And then the worst part is taking it off. Does it take as long? No, it takes about an hour and a half.
Hurts though.
But it's just the glue stays in your facial hairs for days. And even when you shower 2-3 times, you got to keep scrubbing and scrubbing. And I'm like, we're doing original characters. We're doing impressions, neither of which is easy to do. We're doing the kind of comedy that is side-splitting. Your gut, your tear ducts, my jaw. Oh. And we ain't making $1 million an episode. And y'all doing this candy ass boom jokes. And y'all getting paid a gazillion times more than us. God damn it, man.
But I can explain it.
We putting in work, man.
I can explain why Friends works, but I'm going to say this because ER was the other one. I don't think any culturally ER fed everything because it was an action. It was quick. It was at the hospital. We've all been to a hospital.
But it showed us something we weren't used to seeing.
Right, and there was multiple characters on the show, and we were invested in different characters. So yes, ER was different. The thing that I think what really resonates with Friends is it's about people that are coming of age. They're in their 20s, and they're living in New York. And New York again. No. For me, New York is the character. Like, I just wanted to live in New York.
Okay. Without no black people?
Well, okay.
In this New York, a major metropolis.
What's the show that they compare, the black show that they say?
Living Single.
Okay, where's the white characters in Living Single? They're in New York. Where are the white characters?
You.
We make what we know. We make what we know.
Yeah.
We make what we know. So that tells you about who made it. ER is different. If you work in a hospital, you know everybody. Neary was on our show once and he said, Dad, you can't live in New York and not be 6 white people. Yo, yeah, you can. Now, it doesn't mean that you go outside and you're going to be the only, everybody around you is going to be white.
Right.
But you can live, 6 white people could live across the hall from each other in New York and be just,
no, you're right. You're right.
But, and so I say that to say we make what we know. And the thing is, you would rather someone make what they know than make something where they put some characters that they fictionalize and they make them the way that they think that that's who they are.
Yeah.
So that's part of it, man. And I'm not saying I agree or disagree, but Friends is still on TV because it resonates still. And to me, I was at that age where I was 20 something and I wanted to live in New York so bad, and I loved their life. I wasn't, and I even said when I wanted to, even at that age when I'm watching it, I go, we're not going to have an apartment that looks like that. I couldn't have Joey's and Chandler's apartment that looked like because I couldn't afford that. But the idea of getting to live in New York was something. Okay, CNN merges with Time Warner, puts that together. Let's see what else we got in here that I thought was important. Warner goes hard on DVD, which is a big deal. They're the ones that kind of brought DVD home movies, went hard on that area. Part 4, like you said, isn't a big deal. I mean, it's a big deal. Yeah, you should watch them all, but it doesn't have as many notes as that we're going to do. But that is the beginning of a new team that walks in, the dot-com bubble bursts. We get Christopher Nolan, Batman. We come into more of today. Unscripted TV happens. And by the end of all this, we get the Elvis movie being made, COVID coming up, making Elvis movie during COVID. Tom Hanks gets COVID, putting the film on the edge, and Elvis, that they give Elvis credit for bringing people back to the theater. And then the Joker comes up, and that's the new big blockbuster movie that comes out. The Joker that we love, comes out, and then we get Joker 2 that didn't do that for us. Let's see. That's when you can tell a great story, you can change minds. And the end, the last note I have in here, and I think this is what I think this was a quote from somebody that says, "When you can tell a great story, you can change minds." Yeah. And that's what's amazing about the movie business. And that's why we wanted to do this, why we gave a little nod to Warner's, because Warner's was always leading on cultural change in their movies. So what do you got?
That's it. Dates.
All right, man. Well, let me get to that. I was on this.
Coming soon to Broadway, Rocky the Musical. Hey, yo, Adrian. Hey, yo, Adrian.
It's a bit that you should work in. You could do it on stage because we just did.
Sometimes I'm hurt. Sometimes I'm pout. Hey, Rock, knock the bum out.
Oh, Cardinals won in the very last seconds, I guess, of this game.
And sometimes when you train, you go far. Hit that hard. Okay.
Just the way that you did that, I would like to see how you do that on stage. Would be just wild as guys. You're listening to us this week. I think you're listening to this. This comes out on the 30th. So hey, happy Halloween, by the way, on this episode. Just
that will have happened.
Yeah, well, it's coming up. It's coming up that in the next couple days. So
when this comes out Wednesday, it's Halloween.
It's Halloween on
the 31st or the 30th.
The 31st.
Oh, so
no, that's 30th. It will be Thursday's day is actually Halloween.
Okay,
tomorrow's. But I just want to wish people happy Halloween because I want to know that you got your slutty. Halloween outfit on while you're watching this. Yeah. It makes me feel better about the few ladies that we have watching this show. Anyway, October, we'll be in Chicago, October 31st through November 3rd. We're going to be at the Chicago Improv. That's actually in Schaumburg, but it's in Chicago. November 8th, we're going to be in Hawaii. Do you got any Hawaiian noises for that?
Nah, aloha.
Okay. We'll be in Hawaii. The Honolulu Theater.
And to all the Samoans, if you come out, whoever got the biggest toes gets free tickets.
Big toe tickets.
Big toe tickets.
November 15th to the 17th, we're going to be in New York in West Nyack at Levity Live. That's November 15th to the 17th. November 21st to the 24th, we're going to be at the Improv in Ontario, California. Back on the West Coast, an easy trip for Aries. You driving out?
Yes.
Yeah, November 21st to the 24th. Actually, I might need you to pick me up at the LAX.
Sweetly.
November 29th to the 29th only, one night only, Texas Trust CU Theater in Grand Prairie, Texas. December 13th to the 15th, Raleigh Improv in Cary, North Carolina, but still Raleigh. December 19th to the 22nd, we're going to be at the Helium in Philadelphia. That's right. Going to get them cheesesteaks.
Eiffel Tower.
I was going to see if you're going to get it. December 27th, we're going to be at the Pikes Peak Center for the Performing Arts in Colorado Springs. And December 28th, the Paramount in Denver, Colorado. That's it. That's the show.
That is it.
Thanks, you guys.
Spears and Steinberg.
Thanks for listening to the Spears and Steinberg podcast. For more information on where to find us on the internet, visit SpearsburgPod.com.